30 years have since passed, and while a whole lot has changed, the song remains the same. The Wolf still rocks.
Hey there, it's Brian Ellis, morning show host, 101.5 The Wolf, as we celebrate the Wolf's 30th birthday. We launched this radio station on February 14th, 1992, and this guy was along for the ride. We say hello to John Eaton. Hey, John, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Hard to believe that was 30 years ago.
I know, 30 years ago, crazy. What a fun time this is for me, getting a chance to chat with some of the former and current Wolf hosts. When did you join the Wolf?
Officially, it was a week later because I was working at another station. I had given my notice, but my contract didn't finish until a week after the launch.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought it was after the launch. Yeah.
But I was there. I remember being there for the launch date.
Okay.
I happened to be on a Friday night, so I left my job site in Toronto, scurried up there to make it for the launch.
So now I don't know why I thought it was a couple of months after. That's interesting. See, my mind is going. My mind is going.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah, it is a long time ago. And your job when you came to us was?
They kind of made it up, I think. Basically, I wanted to be there because so many people I knew were already there. So folks that I had worked with in Toronto, it was at CKUI, turned to Key 590. So folks like Randy Redden, who was the general manager when the Wolf started, guys like Mike Cooper, Teresa Kashuba, I'd all worked with them, and they were telling me how much fun you guys were all having up in Peterborough, and then I got to be there.
Yeah.
So when talk came that they were going to launch a classic rock station in Central Ontario, that's the time they said, John, you got to get here.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up there.
Okay. And you special events, and you were the what's happening guy, right? And that's one of the big staples for you and your time, I think, is John Eaton and the what's happening reports, our community reports.
It's funny that that's what I ended up getting known for. I mean, I think I was brought there to help market, to promote, to position the radio station to get maximum amount of listeners, maximum amount of advertisers. But one of the reasons I got there, I went, with the budget that we had, because at the time the Wolf was a tiny station relative to other stations. How are we going to afford to do the marketing to reach all of Central Ontario? And we decided that the best way was to be at every event we could be at, to get out there into the communities from Belleville to Bancroft to Oshawa, to get out to everywhere and just let folks know that the Wolf was there. So that was, they call me special event marketing director.
Okay. All right.
But it was interesting because while doing that, we realized that there was a lot of events and event-oriented companies that needed advertising.
Sure.
So the Wolf and those companies really fit well together. So we had a lot of long-term relationships with a lot of companies.
And there were not many events that you weren't a part of. You were out there everywhere, 7 days a week. You were there, late night event, early morning event. Are there any venues that bands played at that you think back to 30 years ago or 25 years ago that you just think back to as that those were a highlight of your time?
Oh, I mean, so many. We could be here all day. I certainly think one of the big ones for me personally was the Pines in Bridgenorth.
Yeah.
When you think of certainly in terms of the Wolf audience, the number of classic bands that went through that wonderful old, it's no longer there.
No.
But that wonderful old building with the beautiful sound and just the vibe that it had, it was so much fun. And so certainly that was one of the live venues. And then, of course, all the outdoor stages. I mean, every community had their own stage. It's stage at Del Prairie Park, for Festival of Lights and all those kind of venues. They were great. And I was really fortunate, and not only was I able to be at these events and watch the shows, but I was invited to MC them in
Mhm.
many occasions, and in many occasions, the Wolf Howlers played the stages, so I got to play with a band of experts.
So let's talk about that. So not only were you, doing our special events, you were doing the What's Happening reports. You formed a band called the Wolf Howlers, and you also did something I found very cool: a live band with karaoke. So a
Yeah,
live band, you guys would play, and then you'd break. And you'd say, "Okay, it's karaoke time. It's karaoke time." Tell us about that.
yeah, that was actually it was kind of a when the Wolf launched. No, I don't think anyone suspected how immediately popular it would be. I guess Central Ontario was starved for rock and roll at that time back in
Yep.
'92. And when we launched, it was huge. So every bar and club and event wanted something to do with the Wolf, but we're a radio station. What do we do? So we had the Wolf Road show, which was great. That was going out there doing the big video shows.
Mhm.
Uh, Another idea was I had a band in Toronto that did live karaoke. So we thought, let's bring that to Peterborough. So I brought James Smith and Bruce Matheson up to Peterborough with me to do those shows. And it was a crazy amount of fun because at the time, karaoke was starting to get in a bad rep because after a while, karaoke gets boring watching people sing to backing tracks. So to have a band playing with these people singing was
Yeah.
so much fun. And the best part was all my buddies at the Wolf. I know you would jump up and do songs. Uh, Downtown Brown would jump up and do
Brad
songs.
Dryden.
Red Dryden. I mean, so it was such a fun. Teresa Kashuba.
Yeah.
So many folks would end up being part of the Wolf Live karaoke band.
And one thing that I've talked to with announcers so far during this series is that we as staff, we're all pretty fortunate to get in on the ground level with the Wolf, because you know we were all young at the time, and it was something that I will never experience again, like that, being that young. To Like a prime example, we had a road show we were going to in Trenton. I think it was at Copperfields in Trenton, and it was Dolan. Remember Dolan's in Belleville,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Dolan's in Belleville, and I think it started at like 8 o'clock. We got there at 6:30, and they were lined up to get in.
Lined up. Yeah.
Like, and we're like, what? Like, okay. And then there was
And
another
you're
one. I think
wondering, and you show up and you go, "Oh, I wonder if they double booked. I wonder what these folks are lined up for.
is there something really good happening here
I wonder if
tonight?
there's
I don't
something happening here that I don't know about."
And there was one of the remember Copperfields in Trenton. Same thing. We had a road show there, and we pulled up, and we walk in. We're supposed to start at 8:30. Well, it's like 7 o'clock, and the place was packed. And we walk in, they're like, "Ow!" Howling, and oh man, it was a great time. It was a great time. Is there a memory for you, John, that sticks out as a highlight or two from your time with the Wolf?
Oh my goodness. I mean, there are so many.
Yeah,
So many. Certainly, I remember the people a lot. I mean,
yeah,
all the friends like you guys, like you, that I still keep in touch with, and you know, certainly I remember the mornings. I mean, now I do a morning show, so it's quite ironic that
yeah.
30 years later I do this. I get up every morning anyway. But back then I would get up to do the What's Happening report. So I'd phone in to guys like Mike Cooper and Brad Dryden and and Jay Sharp and Mike
Yeah.
Melnick and getting to Griff Henderson and getting to talk to those guys every morning. And it's interesting. I still have a great friendship with Mike Melnick and Jay Sharp. I see those guys all the time now.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
that's I think the one thing there's so many different crazy things that happen. We had a great sales department back then too. All those great great opportunities to work with the public. So many things and great accomplishments. I mean, remember the Wire Awards we did with the Wolf Wire Awards, and we
Yep.
had some great bands that all ended up on CDs, and we did those things.
Yep.
And then there was some missteps. Do you remember Wolfstock?
Yes.
It was a concert that it was sort of my baby, and I had a couple of successes, but this one was my still going to be my ultimate failure. We were set up for about 5,000 people, and I think at any given moment we had 200.
Yeah, yeah, that was that was early on.
But the best part was it was the breeding ground for so many great bands. If you think, I mean, 3 Days Grace played there before they
Yep,
were called back.
yep.
It was the bands that showed up did a great job. The audience that showed up had a great time and did a great job. It was just hilarious to see the setup versus what showed up.
And as the years went on and those wolf stocks continued, the crowds got bigger and
It's bigger and
and
better,
got
yeah.
better. Yeah, absolutely. So fill us in. You are still working with Chorus Entertainment, which is the company of the Wolf.
Yes, as you are. You and I are like lifers with
I
chorus.
know, I know.
Yeah,
So what are
I'm
you up
here.
to?
I'm in Collingwood, Ontario,
Hmm.
and I work for the Peak FM, and I host a morning show we call it Talk to the Town with the co-host Melanie Case, and it is just well, you do a morning show, you know what it's like. It is so fun to be plugged into your community every
Hmm.
day, and our shows, Collingwood is a fairly small town,
Hmm.
so we're very important to our community in terms of getting the word out to what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, John Eaton, great to talk with you again. So glad that you were able to join us for this, and it's always fun to just to go back and reminisce about stories from way back. John Eaton, thanks so much, buddy.
Sure is good to see you, buddy.